Hey guys, thanks for watching. Wait. Hey guys, Hey guys, welcome back to Couchbusters. Hey guys, welcome back to Couchbusters. We're so excited for you to listen to this episode. But before we dive in, we just wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up that this will be split into 2 parts just because we had a pretty long conversation, but it was really good. So we didn't want to lose anything. So don't be surprised if it's part 1 this week and then part 2 in a couple of weeks from now. And we just really hope that you enjoy this episode. We can't wait to hear what you guys think.
Thanks. Why did you ask me then?
Because it's a great question, right, guys? Yeah.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Couchbusters. We are on episode 4. So crazy. Cannot believe it that we're actually here at episode 4. As you guys can see, we're here with another couple. Justin and Gia have joined us on the pod. Say what's up, say what's up.
Let's get it.
What up, everyone? Glad to be here.
Naturals. Wow.
Yeah, seriously. Just like Sung and Esther from a couple weeks ago, this couple has really helped make the transition to Dallas feel so smooth and make Dallas feel like home now. So we're super excited. Just guys, give you a little bit run of the show. We have 3 topics that we're going to be going over today. Number 1, Korean American identity. Number 2, marriage in your 20s versus your 30s. And number 3, we're going to be playing our favorite game in Let's Get Deep. So without further ado, I want to hand it off to Justin and Gia to give a little introduction.
Well, I'll hand it off to you, Jihye, first.
No, you go.
I'm sorry. Okay, well, I ruined it. But my name is Justin.
And my name is Jihye.
We're so glad to be here. Thank you, Dave and Michelle, for having us over, letting us be a part of this podcast. We're super excited to be chatting with you guys here and excited to dive in some of these topics.
Yeah, your eyes got really big. And you guys sound like naturals already.
I know.
He's natural.
Oh, no.
I'm just going along.
Not at all.
Yeah, my name's Jihye. I guess a little bit about me. I grew up in Korea. I was born and raised there up until I was 15. And I came to the States when I was 16. Came here for the exchange student program. Stayed here in Texas for 10 months. And then went back to Korea. Came back to the States for college and met this guy. And then we graduated, got married, and we're still here in Texas.
And for me, I was adopted. We'll dive into that a little bit later today, but I was adopted at a very young age. I was 6 months old. I grew up in East Texas my whole life, so I got to experience some of the, fun nuances that came along with that too. But as Jihye said, we met in college and then we transitioned to Dallas and then got married. So that's a little bit about us.
Yeah, what was it like growing up in East Texas, Justin?
Oh, man. It was, at the time, it really wasn't too bad. I didn't really notice anything other than the fact that, I might have looked different from my friend group or something like that. But, as kids, there wasn't anything that made me feel alienated, at least among my friend group. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until I started getting a little bit older. And I recall, I think back, and there were maybe some things said here, some nuances here. And then sometimes there were even cases of flat out racism. But at the time, I know this sounds weird or almost like it, you wouldn't expect this, but I guess it was just because I had no idea of the concept of racism growing up because I couldn't understand like why anyone would treat me differently based on the way that I look. Like that was just not a concept that registered in my mind.
It's like such a foreign concept because there's like no Asian people at all.
Right, exactly.
Were you, what were the demographics like?
It was, very heavily, Caucasian, mixture of like African American and Hispanic people. I mean, the only really Asian people were myself, my sister, and then there was another Chinese girl that was adopted in my grade too.
Oh, wow.
But that was it. Like when it came to the Asian population in like maybe a 500-mile radius. I'm probably exaggerating, but that's what it felt like.
Yeah, it looks like that. Now that I'm like here in Dallas, like if I go anywhere further than Dallas, like this area, I feel like it would just be straight up white people.
Yeah,
talking like Bojangling Anatomy.
That's pretty accurate.
That's pretty good.
That's kind of like what I imagine.
Really?
Yeah, dude. It's literally what I imagine it to be like. Have you guys ever seen King of the Hill, the cartoon?
I've only seen like clips of it.
Dude,
Never,
they literally talk like German.
Honestly, that's like really accurate.
Is it? Oh,
really?
Yeah, I've been working on that.
Like, it's interesting because in the South there are like different like dialects too.
Uh-huh.
So you got like really slow country, and then when they get excited, it's like it just ramps up really quickly, and you don't understand anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's levels.
Dang.
For sure.
What was the city that you grew up in? Was it Tyler?
I grew up. I always say Tyler because that's easiest for people sort of like geographically referenced.
If you are in Dallas, you kind of know about Tyler.
Right. Yeah. You know, it exists out there. Kind of like, you know, like Pluto exists, right? So
It's a concept. It's a concept.
exactly.
That's where we went to summer camp. I just know that.
There
It was
you
2
go.
hours away and we did
Right.
camp every summer. But then
Yeah.
you actually lived further away from Tyler?
I did. I lived like 30 minutes south of Tyler in Jacksonville. And for those of you who are from East Texas, don't come at me because I haven't been back in a while, so I might be wrong. But it was far from Tyler. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha.
You go to Tyler for fun, like for the
Yeah,
movies
so
and
that
for
was
the mall.
that was a fun thing growing up because, like, you know, for all of my friend group and everyone who lived in like sort of that area, you know, you only go to Tyler for special occasions. You know, if you're really wanting to take someone on a date, if you want to go to the movie theater, if you want to like get fazoli's or something, and that was a long time ago, and that was pretty
Tyler,
pretty
Texas.
fancy. And if you really liked them, you would take them to like Olive Garden. So
Oh yeah, that's a treat.
yeah, oh
That's a step
absolutely,
That's like a 1-year anniversary.
absolutely.
Yes.
Oh
Like,
wow, yeah, at a
Yeah.
minimum, I feel like.
yeah.
Gia,
Yeah.
did you go on dates with him to Olive Garden?
Dude, I think so. I think we did go,
Oh, shoot.
unfortunately, for a few times.
I mean,
Unfortunately.
back
nice.
then, I liked
I
Olive
love their
Garden.
breadsticks.
The
That's
breadsticks,
true.
the salad.
That's true.
Yeah.
No, we
Yes.
always went to BJ's Brew House all the time. And,
It's yeah.
Jay loves
Get some
their
Pazookies.
Pazookie. Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. So it's like a giant cookie and a skillet with ice
Yes,
cream on top.
I remember that.
Whoa,
They're
geez,
so
I don't even
good.
understand what you're saying.
A Pazookie.
Yeah.
It's wild because it's so different growing up in Jersey. Because like everyone in Jersey is Korean. It's like 30% population of
wow.
Korean people from where
Oh,
where I'm at.
Not even just Asians. It's
Yeah,
like, that's like
straight up
Koreans are
Koreans.
30%.
Wow.
Yeah,
Really?
in some areas like Fort Lee. Have you guys heard of Fort Lee?
No.
It's like a city that's very close to New York City, like 20 minutes away across the
Oh.
bridge. It's like 50% Koreans.
It's
Right.
crazy because like I didn't realize that Korean people put up billboards to advertise their businesses purely in Korean.
Yeah, they're straight
Oh,
up
wow.
in Korean. They're
Yeah.
just like, we don't want any business from non-Koreans. Just letting y'all know this is
Yeah.
straight up real estate for Koreans only.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's
Wow.
crazy.
Well,
That's
tell us about
huge.
like your experience growing up in New Jersey. How was that like?
Oh, it was interesting, man. I would say like one of the biggest differences that I realized, I feel like people in Jersey, especially the guys, are more animated. I've heard that multiple times.
Versus what? Korean guys in
in like Virginia, for example, because
Oh,
that's like another
really?
place that I was in for longer than 5 years.
Interesting.
Yeah. I've heard constantly in Virginia, it's like, wow, you're very animated.
Like how so?
Just like moving with my, like talking with my hands, and just being
Loud?
expressive and loud. Yeah, I feel like people in
Oh.
Virginia are just
That's
not
true.
like
I
that.
think that they have a lot of volume.
Yeah, or a lack of volume control for
I
sure.
see.
Yeah, but
Nice.
Nova guys are like a lot more quiet. They're like very quiet.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's a
Oh.
Nova guy?
Northern Virginia.
Northern Virginia.
Oh shoot. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I thought it was like
See,
a
I know
space
more.
reference or something.
Supernova man.
Oh yeah. I was like, what is that?
But yeah,
That's
because
funny.
Jersey is like, or at least where I'm from in Jersey, is so Korean. There's like a baseline understanding that we kind of all have culturally.
Oh.
So it's kind of nice and refreshing to know that like someone else that's Korean American probably shares a similar story that I have. You know, and I don't have to go too far in terms of explaining myself because their upbringing is probably similar to mine, right? But what about you, Jihye? Like you ended up here
Gosh.
She ended up in East Texas.
in East
Right.
Texas, yeah.
Honestly, I was so scared like coming here because first off, I didn't want to come here. Like I had a good life, you know,
In
in
Korea?
middle school in Korea.
Yeah.
I grew up in Seoul and around Seoul. So as a quick background, I grew up in the military family. So my dad served in the military for, 20, 30 years. So our family always like sort of moved around. But I finally, got my friend group started and then I was like really close to all my friends. So I think I was in 9th grade first semester. I finished my semester and my mom suggested that, hey, like, do you want to go do this 1-year exchange student program?
A year? Wow.
Yeah, because do you guys know the term, like Korean term, like mom's friend's like son?
What's the
Mom-
term?
엄친아.
No, I don't.
Mom's
yeah.
friend's son?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so the term is like, it's like saying that your mom's best friend's son or daughter, they're always like the best, like they're the smartest, they all like look good. They're very
They like compare you to them all the time.
right. So
Oh.
basically, my mom's best friend's son went on this exchange student program, and he had such a good experience.
To
So-
Tyler?
Oh.
No, like random place, like in the United States.
Okay. Yeah.
So this exchange student program, it was for public school only, and you don't get to choose your host family at all.
Wow.
So you do get to go there, but basically your host family sees your profile and pick you, and if they pick you, you just go there.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Yeah, so that's
You didn't even have like a top 3 choices that you wanted
That's
to
a lot of trust you have to put in.
Dude, America's so large. I feel like
Right.
you would end up in Tyler,
Right.
Texas. Yeah, if you gave it up to
right.
Yeah, left it up to them.
But my perception of the like United States was like, oh, I thought it was going to look like LA or
Yeah.
like New York. Like that's like the only like, you know, 2 big cities
Yeah,
that
yeah,
Korean
yeah.
people know of.
Mm.
So I get the profile and it's like somewhere in Texas. Okay, like I heard of like Dallas,
Yeah.
I think. Dallas Cowboys, you know. So I got here and it was such a culture.
Oh my
like,
gosh,
shock.
I bet you went from like one of the busiest city in the world to like
Yes. And
middle of nowhere.
I didn't speak the language. I didn't know the culture. I was so nervous as this like 15-year-old girl, like, you know, leaving my family behind. So I get there and I love my host family and they're the reason why I came back here for college. But it was so surreal because it seemed like I thought I was in the middle of nowhere in Africa because it's like flat. There's nothing. They're like
Might as well be.
100 and 200 cows on the
Yeah.
field.
Uh-huh.
It was so surreal. I was like, oh my gosh.
Like,
And-
where am I?
Right, where am I?
How did
Like,
I end up here?
and you can't go anywhere. Even in Dallas, you can't go anywhere without a car.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
And back then, I think like Wi-Fi or like the internet service on your phone, it wasn't like there fully.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to have really good Wi-Fi on my huge like first generation iPad to like be able to like speak to my family.
Oh my
I
god.
Wow.
felt so trapped and it was so surreal because I thought I like prepared everything in terms of like, okay, like taking all these English lessons and everything in Korea. And I got here and because people like speak like what Justin described earlier, I had no clue. Like I was like, I have
Like,
no clue what you just
saying?
said. Like,
This is not
I
English.
need to like restudy like from the beginning. Like I did take like private like lessons, like conversational English and all that, but it's very like proper English.
That sounds like punishment, honestly. Like if that sounds like something that would happen to me as a kid because I wasn't the best kid growing up. They'd be like, "Oh, Konya, we're sending you away."
Yes. See you in a year.
To the plains
East
of
Texas.
Africa.
Tyler,
You will
Texas.
grow up.
It's so funny because anytime we go back to like visit maybe my family in East Texas, I joke about this, but I always have to like translate for Jihye, you know, in case like we run into a native or something. Yeah,
native?
East
East Texan.
yeah.
That's
what's
right.
an
I
example?
sort of like look at him like, what
Yeah, I'm
were
just
they
like, oh,
saying?
they said this.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
give us an
Yeah,
example
what's an
of like
example of that?
If we go into like a gas station or something and, you know, maybe we buy some things at the counter or something, we'll go up and we're just talking and the gas station attendee or the person working at the counter be like, y'all come in from big city? Well, you're just really going to love it here. We love this small town, you know, blah, 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 blah. And they're talking like a lot faster than that. And they're saying other different things. And I understand it because, you know, I'm from there. And it's funny because sometimes they're like, you're not from around here, are you? And I'm like, well, I grew up like, you know, 5 minutes down the road. So, you know, I am from around
Right.
here. And Gia's like, she has this like big like floating question mark above her head.
Yeah,
It's
What
like,
just
sitting there.
happened?
Yeah. And like if you need to ask for like, you know, how to get somewhere or something, they'll say, well, you just got to go down there and take a left at the hay bale. You know, you see that one post sign out by the trunk of the track. Yeah, by the trailer broken down out there. And then I'm like, and she's like, what did he just say? Oh, well, if we just take a left at the trailer, broken down trailer.
Translation.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that.
Oh,
And then
that's
Gia's like, yeah,
hilarious.
it's always a fun.
Real life example
Yeah,
right there.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you think your moving experience like permanently changed you? Because like you grew up so Korean, right? And then you got thrown into like America,
Right.
like America, you know? So like, do you think that like left like a really lasting impact on the way that you kind of shaped your identity?
Yeah, that's a good question. Cause like when so before we got married and when I was still an international student, I still consider myself like 200% Korean. Cause like I always go back home like during the summer break and I spend like full 3 months there and I'm back to learn more about the culture and like the language. But now that I'm like fully here, like I got the green card, you know, like this is my home, like we're going to be here for a while. And that's so like surreal to think about, because like the more time I spend in the States, like in terms of like my lifespan, like the less like in tune I feel with the Korean culture and the Korean trends that are going on out there. So I don't know. I do feel like I'm like drifting away.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. We've had these conversations too, where you know you don't necessarily feel like you belong to either culture now.
Yeah, it's strange. I think I do, but like 50%, like 50-50.
Yeah, and there's also the dynamic of like, you know, Seoul is changing, you know, so quickly. So anytime, you know, we try to go back, you know, visit the family once a year or so, but you know, it changes so much in such a short amount of time too.
And there's
Right.
a lot more foreigners are not just visiting, but they're like living there.
Right.
And like, I remember I went in 2019, and I went to Itaewon, which is like the foreigner area. But I was still really shocked when we sat down at a restaurant to order gogi, and then like this white European woman was our waitress and speaking to
wow.
us in like Korean, though, perfect Korean. And
Right.
I was like, 삼겹살 주세요. Like, whatever.
Wow, that's crazy.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it was like so weird.
Yeah.
Jedi.
Well, when your family sees you now, do you think that they think the same way? They're like, oh, wow, my daughter, she's become like Korean American almost, or she's not fully
that's
Korean.
a good question.
Yeah. Do you think that
I
they
don't
see
think
it?
they do. I think they
Interesting.
still consider me as like, you know, like my like same like my like just me like when I was living with them. But it's such a challenge because I do talk to them occasionally on the phone, like every like once a week or like once every 2 weeks. And sometimes I just cannot have a conversation with them because I can't think of like certain words.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm like forgetting slowly like how to like translate words. So like I was like, oh, like what's revenue? Like I was like, because my dad speaks a little bit of English. And I was like asking him like, what's like revenue? And we were stuck there for like 10 seconds because we couldn't figure out
Really?
like what words I was trying to say.
Dang.
Wow.
So it's definitely interesting. It's frustrating in a way, but yeah, that's just where I'm at right now. It's weird. Wait, we need to talk about your experience.
Okay.
Why'd you skip over me?
Sorry. Yeah.
Growing up in Dallas, I feel like it was actually very similar to Justin's. And I went to school I went to a private Christian school where like majority it was like all white people, like a couple black kids, and then like like even less Asian kids, including me. No, I never like experienced like outright racism or anything like that, but it was just more like certain things that were like frustrating because no one understood me. And like, again, no one was mean or anything like that, but I feel like because I knew that I looked different, it made me feel like a little bit more of an outsider, even though no one was like trying to outcast me or anything like that. But it just impacts you a little bit, you know, on a deeper level when you're really young than most people even would realize. So, I mean, the grade is like 120 kids max. And I went to school with these kids for like 8 years in a row. And again, it wasn't like anyone was like ill-intentioned or anything like that, but no one knew who Korean people were, what Korean culture was back then.
Yeah.
It's only been in the last like few years where Korea has become like super interesting or like super cool for people. But back then, like everyone only like knew about Chinese people or like Chinese food. And so like I would do like, you know, in school and it's your birthday, you make like a poster to talk about like here's like me, I'm turning 8 years old, my favorite foods are this, or like fun facts about me. And I would always like share something about like being Korean or like show off my hanbok at like a show and tell type of thing. But then every year someone would ask me if I was Chinese, and I'm just like, I've known you for like 10 years. How are you asking me the same question?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting that like you and Justin saw that not as like blatant racism though. It sounds like you guys perceived it as ignorance, right? Maybe because like you guys didn't have like the reinforcement of other Koreans around you, or a lot of them, to perceive it as racism. Whereas in Jersey, things like that did happen to us, but we immediately identified it as racism.
I see.
Because there was enough of us where we could be like, hey, this is like targeted towards Koreans, and we all feel this way. it's got to be racism. It's not just like it's me by myself internalizing it.
Yeah.
And maybe there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just like that bias, like a little bit. No, we like flat out said like, oh, this is racism.
Is that because there were enough Koreans for people to
I think
know
so.
what Korean people were?
I think that like people were able to identify us as a group, but also because we had numbers, we were able to kind of find that comfort in
Power
each
in the
other.
masses.
Yeah, I
But it's
see.
interesting that you guys didn't perceive it as such.
Yeah, and there were times, you know, like I just thought of an example. You know, I played basketball in like junior high and like 1 year in high school. And when I would travel to like other towns or cities to play away games at, you know, like their whole student section would be calling me like Yao Ming or,
Oh my gosh.
you know, look at Jackie Chan out there. And it didn't really like click to me. I just thought that was like, oh, well, that's silly.
Yeah.
But now I think back and I'm like, man, that's really messed up.
Yeah, that's really
you know?
racist.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and there was an instance, you know, because Michelle, I was in a class of, you know, like 135 people.
Oh,
and I'd
it's
known
small.
those people since kindergarten.
Yeah, same.
Like we grew up together, like our whole lives from like however old you are whenever you start like kindergarten to like, you know, senior year of high school. And I remember this one like core memory that I have in high school. I went on a field trip, and it was like maybe like 10 or 12 of us. It was a field trip for, you know, the people who, you know, made a good grade on a test or something like that. And I remember this one girl who I've known, you know, my whole life up until that point. And, you know, I think I told a joke on the bus or something. And then she was like, oh, haha, you know, Justin, you're so funny. I always thought you were kind of weird, but yeah, you're really funny. And I just, that was strange to me, because I was like, I didn't know I had done anything to distinguish myself as like being weird.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And then it wasn't later I realized like, oh, it's because I don't look like anybody else. And I grew up thinking, there was a time in my life too, you know, in high school, where I would look in the mirror and I would think, why do I not look like everyone else? You know, I thought my nose was weird, for example, too, right? Because like, you know, all of my friends were dating in high school and I didn't really. And I always thought, well, maybe it's just because, you know, maybe I'm just not like great dating material or something like that. But a lot of it played into the fact that I think I was, you know, a Korean American.
Did you feel even more like that because you're an adoptee and you got adopted into like a white family?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not too sure. But the only one thing I can think of as it relates to having those types of discussions with my family, because as I got older as an adult, you know, I would try to have those conversations with my parents. And they didn't really seem to understand, because I would tell them like, oh, hey, mom and dad, you know, I experienced, you know, some racism growing up in this town. And they would be like, what? No, you didn't. Like, that
Really?
wasn't racism. But I think it's because of two reasons. One, they didn't want to believe that
Yeah.
the people that they've known for so long
Right.
would treat their children like that
Yeah.
or say those things to their kids. And two, since they're not a minority,
They can't
that
really
probably-
understand
yeah,
it.
that probably doesn't even like compute in their mind. Yeah.
That's really interesting. Jihye, how did you feel about that? Like coming into East Texas, did you feel like, you know, those like sly remarks were like because they were just racist? Or did you feel like they were just, you know, targeting you in some other way?
One of the major like struggles that I had like coming here was not only like explaining my culture like as a foreign person, but also like being like, I guess like befriending people as an individual that I am. Like I have certain personality, right? But like they don't ask about like how I am, like, but it's more like, oh, like you're Korean and that's like my
That's
whole
it.
personality.
Yeah. They
So-
don't want to know anything more. Or they're just
Right.
only interested in like the fact that you're from Korea.
Right. Like, no, like, what's your favorite food? Like, you know, what do you like to do? Like, none of that. But it's more like, oh, you're Korean. And like, I like Korean this, Korean that.
안녕하세yo.
Yes, exactly.
What's your favorite anime?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a big one. The anime one is
Yeah.
a big one.
Yes. And I don't watch any anime. So I was like, I don't know. So that was a struggle, I feel like.
I get those questions all the time, like in Uber rides. Dude,
Oh, like still?
people in Dallas are so nice. There are a couple Uber rides where it's just like full, like since beginning pickup to drop off, it's just been one long conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
That's never happened to me before anywhere else.
Really?
People are so nice here. All that to say, there were a couple times, or one time specifically without you, where the guy was like, hey, where are you from? I was like, Korea. And he's like, north or south? And I was like, North.
You caught me.
Give them what they want.
Send me away. Well, like, I feel like those questions, you guys probably have heard similar kinds of questions like all throughout life, right?
Yeah.
But do you think that there's a difference between ignorance and racism?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like,
Yeah,
I don't know if that, I mean, I guess it depends on how they ask it. And sometimes you don't really know what the intention is, but I feel like a question like that could be really out of ignorance, but also it could be really racist too.
Right.
Yeah.
Just depends on like what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. There's a clear-cut difference.
Yeah. I think a lot of it, at least for me, I would love to give the benefit of a doubt. I'm sure a lot of it was just ignorance. And people can change. People always have the capacity to change and learn and grow. So, I don't hold any of that against them. Yeah.
For sure. How was your experience, like, just growing up as an adoptee, if you don't mind me asking? Like, because I actually did a podcast a long time ago about adoptees specifically, because I'm just like really fascinated about like that whole identity, because I'm sure you yourself had like so many crises growing up in terms of like, hey, am I American? Am I Korean? How do I reconcile this? Some of the other Korean adoptees I've spoken with, their parents like sent them to Korean camp to like learn about themselves, and like they either really liked it or they had a mental breakdown. And so like there was like never an in between with that. How did you juggle all of that?
That's a great question. I did go to a Korean camp a few times.
Oh, you did? Wow.
It was, honestly, I found it super fun.
What age were you?
I don't remember. I think it was, I want to say middle school.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was before high school, and I went, I think like 2, maybe 3 times. But it was a lot of fun for me. It was like, I don't know, my parents always fashioned it around a vacation. Like, we're going to Oklahoma, and you're going to go to Korean camp. And I thought it was super cool because, I'm used to seeing like people that don't look like me. So then like, 1 week out of the year, I go to this camp in the desolate Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's
wilderness.
random. Yeah.
I think it was because it was
it
where my
central?
adoption agency was based out of.
Oh.
I could be wrong. If that's not the reason, I don't know why. But anyway, we would arrive there and like, bam, all these kids are running around and they all look like me.
Koreans.
Yeah, and the funny thing was, like, my 2 best friends that I made at camp, that I remember specifically, like one was white and one was like black or something.
Huh?
So I didn't make. I don't know. My 2 best
Korean
friends at camp
camp?
weren't Korean. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and I think that's because it goes back to I never really considered myself like Asian or Korean or like growing up, because there was like no other Asian people to, I guess, associate myself with.
Yeah.
Was there a part of you that rejected that identity?
I don't think rejected. I think that because like my only exposure to like Asian people or Korean culture was like that 1 week out of the year, there wasn't anything to like associate with in my mind, because there's nothing to draw reference from. There's no other people to look at and say like, oh, that's what a Korean person looks like, or that's what a Korean person does. So I had no idea what it even meant to be a Korean person.
That makes sense.
From the beginning. And that changed a lot too. When I met Jihye in college, that was when I first met Asian people and Korean people. And that was a big thing too. Yeah.
Were there a lot of Asians at your school?
Asian people?
1%? I don't know.
Yeah, probably like if you looked at the like demographic breakout, it's probably like Asian and like less than 1%. So that's probably what it was.
But still more than what you had growing up.
I mean, that's not a high benchmark, but yeah. So like more than 3, yeah, there were more than 3.
But you saw them in college, and like I guess, is that when you first learned what like Asian culture was like, or like Korean culture?
It wasn't
like...
until I met Jihye and we started dating. That's when I learned like what Korean culture was like. Yeah.
So what attracted you to Justin then? Were you looking for someone that wasn't Korean?
I wasn't looking at all, because we went to a community college and like all of us were going to leave this place, right? We're all going to leave here, part ways. So I was not looking for anything.
Yeah. So, other than I'll try and take this one from you, but I was a really funny guy in the past, and
You're
I think
so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, am I? Oh, thank you so
You
much.
haven't grown out of
I've
it.
toned
Yeah.
it down a lot. I've reined it in.
You just have mastered the art of being funny.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's the
You're
first
so
time
nice.
anyone's ever told me that. Thank you so much.
I mean, I think you're really funny.
Oh, I will now be taking over this podcast.
Let's wrap it up.
But I think my humor was the thing that probably stood out to you, you know?
Yeah, he was really funny, really genuine. I think long conversations is like what really drew me to him, because like other friends, you know, like I said earlier, you know, they only do me as Korean person and that's it, right?
Yeah.
But like he asked me a lot of questions, like, oh, like what do you like? You know, what are your hobbies and things like that.
Those are basic questions, but I appreciate it.
I guess
She's
my
like, I'm just trying to get to
standard
know you
was
on a
very
basic level.
low. He asked me questions.
It meant a lot, though.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
But most importantly, we were both Christians and we connected a lot on that level too.
Yes, we shared our faith and we connected on that a lot. And that's how it went.
Dang, and then shortly after college, you guys got married, or was it during college?
We got married literally like right after college. We graduated
Like 1 week after.
We graduated in May, end of May, and we got married like second week of May.
Wow.
Yeah. It was quick.
I think it's
That
like
is
third or
wild.
fourth.
And then we graduated and then we got married, and then like was it a week after that we moved to Dallas?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you guys think growing up as a minority affected your sense of self-confidence? Because I feel like one thing I struggle with is, you know, growing up as a kid, I think going through a lot, right? But it's interesting to think about like this identity as a minority versus like, are you just a self-conscious kid? Like, is this maybe my personality? I'm curious actually, because like you grew up in an area where Asians and Koreans were not necessarily like that much of a minority. Like, do you think you were aware of the fact that you're a minority like in America, or like, do you think you were self-conscious because of it at all?
Definitely. Like I was saying earlier, I think because there were a number of us, like a sizable number of us, it was easier to point out things like racism towards like the Korean American population or Koreans in general.
Do you think it affected your sense of self-esteem though, overall?
It didn't really affect my self-esteem that much. But I will say, because there were a lot of Koreans, I think that each of us kind of had this internal struggle of standing out within our own group, if that makes sense. So like we were all kind of clubbed together externally as Korean Americans or Koreans. And myself, what I really struggled with was like standing out amongst this group within this minority.
Why do you think you felt the need to stand out amongst that minority group?
That's a good question. I don't think I've ever like wrestled with that. But maybe it's just like I wanted to feel like an individual within that group, and I didn't want to just be like clubbed as just like a Korean American dude.
Yeah.
And just like kind of stand out as like his own individual with his own skill set, kind of. And so I still struggle with that to this day. And I think it has nothing to really do with being a Korean American or a Korean in general, but just wanting to stand out in general.
Like not, like you said, like not just wanting to be whatever percentage of that 30% of whatever that population was, but like, you know, I'm Dave Yoon.
Yeah.
And I want to be known for
like X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like good and bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, on the flip side though, Jihye, because you grew up in a homogenous society where it wasn't, you were never like the minority in that sense. But then did your self-esteem change going from like when you were in Korea and then in East Texas?
I think, and I talked about this with him, but since I grew up in a military family and I always had to move around, right? So I think I had to be certain way to stand out among my group. Like as a new kid, I need to like, you know, let my friends know, hey, this is who I am and I'm interesting. Let's be friends.
Yeah.
So I already had that dynamic going on. So when I moved here, it was kind of similar, but on top of that, it was like plus language, plus culture.
Do you think you had like a high sense of confidence, like self-confidence, like when you were a kid?
All. I was always like such an anxious girly. Like I was always anxious, always nervous, because you know you're like literally thrown into this new town. Bunch of kids, like you're always like being introduced as like, hey, this is Jihye, say hi, introduce yourself to the class. And I have to be interesting. I have to like make friends. I have to wear certain clothes. So I was very like, I wasn't given a choice. But I was like extroverted, like, basically without giving a choice, if that makes sense.
Interesting.
Like I had to stand out. Like wear interesting clothes, like the most popular
wow.
brands. I was so obsessed with that growing up.
So you recognize that was like it was a tactic for you,
Right,
Like, and
it
you
was.
use that to like
To
be
make
interesting
friends and like, you know, have kids like be interested in me.
Oh, that's very
wild.
strategic.
Yeah.
That's
It
very
is.
smart.
How did everyone introduce themselves as a kid? Like, if you were called up in front of class to do show and tell, how would you introduce yourself? Because like for me, I would be like, I was one of the shyest kids ever.
You were?
Yeah, up until high school actually.
You didn't sing "My Name Is Dave"?
No, none of that. Because I didn't sing up until high school.
Oh, okay.
I didn't do any of that.
You're
Wow.
shy in middle school?
Dude, I was so shy. I used to be the kid that when like we would go and like have sleepovers at friends' house, I would watch them play video games.
Oh no!
I wouldn't even play because I would be like, oh, it's okay. You guys can just
No.
play. Yeah.
That's too sad.
So like literally, like if I can take myself back to 4th grade, I'd be like, hi, I'm Dave. Yeah, I like Pokemon.
Aww.
That would be all I could say. What about you guys? Like, what was your introductions like?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was actually really shy too as a kid. And a lot of
Really?
people that I meet now in my adulthood are very surprised
Same.
Right.
to hear that
Yeah.
about me, because I guess I am very extroverted, but I do think like growing up as a minority and being the only Asian, only Korean kid basically in my school for such a long time, I just think I didn't have that self-confidence for whatever reason. And I was just, I think, naturally shy as a kid. Like my sister would be like, we would be at the beach and she'd be making friends with like the strangers on the beach. And I'd be like, can I come and help you build the sandcastle?
Oh, really? No
Yeah.
way.
I don't know. I guess I was just really shy. And then
What changed?
Yeah.
I don't
What was
know.
The catalyst?
I think maybe it's just part of like growing up and becoming more mature and like just growing up or growing your confidence over time.
You know what it was, babe? It was when you got introduced to 21. I feel
To
like,
anyone.
yeah, you were just like, oh, dude, they're
know what?
badass.
Yeah.
I'm a badass.
I am
21.
Maybe CL.
I feel like CL had a lot to do with this
That
transformation.
is probably
K-pop.
very
Wait, who's
true.
21? Like
K-pop.
Savage?
No.
Oh. I was like, yo, what? That's crazy.
It's like, damn, hip hop changed your life.
Yeah.
To anyone.
Yeah.
It's like the number
Oh.
2 and the letter N, E1, like 21.
To anyone.
Yeah, and then it's like a play. It's like
Oh, you know
to
CL.
anyone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I know
CL, she was the leader of that group.
Yeah.
And she's just such a badass, like cool female. But yeah, maybe that had a lot to do with my confidence.
You met them?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I just
oh,
became
oh,
obsessed
yeah.
with them.
Oh my! I just remember the story when I was a kid. I was so shy, right? But this is like, I guess, like Korean American identity coming at like a head.
Yeah.
But one of like, there was 2 white girls that like kind of cornered me in class.
wait, why?
Cornered me. They were like, "Hey, you're Korean, right?" I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "Can you say our names in Korean? What's our Korean name?" Have you guys ever gotten
I
that?
have
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my goodness!
yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I had that all the time actually.
I
growing
just
up.
remembered
Yeah.
this, and then
Whoa.
I was like, your name is Jessica.
Oh, nice.
You guys did that too? It sounds like.
Oh, all the time.
They would always ask me to like write their names in Korean, and they're like, "Oh, I'm definitely going to get this tatted like on my arm."
No way.
They never did though.
Yeah.
Yeah. They would always ask me, "Oh, Justin, like, what's your name in Korean?" And I can't say. To this day cannot say it right. But I would.
So he told me that his name was Jonghyun. Like his
Jonghyun?
Korean name was Jonghyun this
Yeah.
whole time.
Yeah.
And after we got married and like maybe like a year or 2 later, it was Jonghyun. Like it's like
It was, like,
totally
completely
different.
that sounds the exact same. To me.
Wait, how did you realize that he was telling you the wrong name the whole time?
Because I saw his birth certificate.
Oh.
Yeah, and he didn't know how
That's
to read
as
that.
official
I
as
was
it
like,
gets,
what's
bro.
that?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was funny. But when I would tell like my friends in high school, I would say that. And they'd say, what? Like Ching Ping? I'm like, yes.
Damn, dude, for real? You
Yeah,
don't even come close.
Yeah. And I was just too like, okay, you know what, whatever. Yeah, like
Yeah.
close enough. Yeah.
Dang.
That's true.
Wild. So,
Yeah.
yeah. How did you introduce yourself?
I was really shy too.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was a
interesting.
really shy kid, and
Up until when?
up until maybe college. Yeah, maybe
High school, right?
No, I was still like pretty shy in high school. Yeah, because of the whole dynamic I said, like I wasn't like super popular or like super well liked or anything like that. So it wasn't until college, I don't think, until I had to develop sort of like a false sense of confidence, to, I guess, sort of compensate, like, so people didn't just see like some like weird Asian kid, so I had to be like extra confident and extra outgoing So people, so that would like hopefully like balance out in people's minds. I guess I was hoping like they might see me as like an Asian person, which is interesting. But then if I was just really outgoing and really funny, then maybe they could see past that. Yeah.
Wow,
Interesting.
very
Interesting that like I feel like us three are some of the most extroverted people in our friend group,
Yes.
but we were all shy when we were kids
Right.
growing
That's
up.
so interesting.
I know.
Yeah, like Dave, we were like Pokemon. We evolved, I guess. Yeah. Wait, so
Wow.
what was your favorite Pokemon though?
My favorite Pokemon?
Yeah.
Dude, it's got to be Dragonite, bro.
Dragonite?
Mm-hmm.
What?
You're fired. You say otherwise.
Why was Dragon? You were not expecting that answer either.
I actually know not a thing about Pokemon.
What?
Why did you ask me then?
Because it's a great question, right?
I'm gonna
guys?
look up
Yeah.
Dragonite.
It's a fun
Wait,
question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Do you
ain't
not
real.
know?
Whatever.
What was your favorite? Chia?
꼬부기.
Which one?
Oh,
Squirtle?
Squirtle?
Yeah.
Ah.
Oh.
Mine was Mew. After I watched the
Oh.
movie.
What's Mew?
Mew like sort of suits you.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a cat?
It's like one of the top Pokemon.
Strongest.
Wait, so like what's the like most powerful Pokemon? in
This
the
is one of the most
Pokeverse?
powerful
The
Yeah.
powerful one?
They're the
Yeah.
legend.
I would say probably Magikarp.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, there we go. We'll go with that. There we go, baby. Why, you really don't know anything about Pokemon, huh?
Not a thing.
Damn,
Dang.
bro.
Come on, I don't
What did
know
you watch
why.
growing up?
Like, you know, like Courage the Cowardly Dog and oh shoot, what else did I watch?
That was scary.
That was so scary, man. They should not have made that for kids.
Oh yeah, that Courage the Cowardly Dog.
How do you think that got past the producers and like the directors and whoever like makes all the decisions? Like,
It's like, hey, do you hate your kids?
I think maybe at that time there wasn't
Yeah.
enough research into like what could damage kids' psyche.
Right.
So adults got together and like, this looks good. Yeah, like let's throw it out there. For all of you guys who've watched Courage the Cowardly Dog, like we might even drop a picture. But you guys remember like that 3D rendering of that
Dude,
that
so
terrible
scary.
Return the Slab ghost thing? That was traumatizing.
I do not want to watch that.
Yeah.
I think about it like sometimes when like I have to turn off the lights and like like in the kitchen and I have
Yeah.
to walk all the way back to our bedroom. I think about it.
Oh.
Think about returning that slab.
Yeah.
I'm just like, hey, all, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode, the first part of this episode. Part 2 is going to be coming out in a couple of weeks, as Michelle has mentioned, and we're going to be diving deep into the differences between getting married in your 30s versus your 20s. We promise you it's going to be juicy and really, really great. We can't wait to see you there. Bye.
Bye.
Great.
Can't wait to see you there.
Nice. Yeah, get up close one more time.